Welcome, everyone. My name is Bill Brennan, and this is Illuman. Thank you for participating tonight, and happy Mother's Day week. Illuman is a fellowship of men, transforming men through a power greater than ourselves. Our experiences show us that the pain we do not transform, we will transmit. So we seek a life-changing spirituality. We are fed by the wisdom traditions of forgiveness and radical inclusivity. We carry on the work started by Father Richard Rohr, which recovers traditional patterns of male initiation, affirms a masculine path to healing, reveals the true and false self, and honors the path of descent. We do this through the power of ritual, image, story, and counsel. Our primary concern is inner work that expands the depth and breadth of love in ourselves, and that makes a difference in the world. We seek to form future generations of men who will restore all these practices, serving to build a world that celebrates the beauty of all beings. We're really looking forward to spending the evening with you tonight and sharing what Carl Jung, the great psychiatrist, called the masterpiece of men's growth, the integration of the anima in a man's life. Carl Jung believed that 4 was a common pattern in our consciousness and in our unconscious life. And as no surprise, he named the 4 stages of development of the anima in a man. Jay will be offering the first 2 tonight. Jung named them Eve and Helen of Troy. Chris will be offering the 3rd stage, which is called Mary. And Tony will be offering the final stage called Sophia. I'll turn it over to Tony now to begin our evening together. Tony, take it away.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill, and welcome everybody. As we like to say in Illumin, we see you. And I just was looking at all the screens, so it's good to see everybody tonight. Thanks for coming out, even the ones that don't have their cameras on yet. Our brother Jim Burns always says to start with the why question. So why did we pick invisible partners? And the story goes back to the beginning of this year where Jay and I were talking over a phone call, and we were asking about the passion circle called the Dark Ambush and how it was going. And we were trying to contemplate ways to help men find that work. And at the same time, I was looking at this concept of the anima for the midlife offering that we have. And I thought maybe there was a way we could marry the 2 together. And when we met the following week, and we were talking about this as a watering hole idea, Bill Brennan had suggested there was a whole book that was written about it that I didn't know about called The Invisible Partners. So I picked it up right away, and I read most of it in one night. And I remember it had the same impact on me like the first time I heard the Enneagram. It was that powerful. So I shared it with Chris and Jay and Peter, and they had the same feeling. And so we quickly realized this was something we really wanted to bring to more men. And just like it was helping us, we thought it could help others. So I wanted to thank Chris and Jay for co-creating this offering with me. It couldn't have been done alone. So I appreciate the enthusiasm and the interest they showed right away for the event. So a few thoughts before we get started tonight. We only have 90 minutes tonight, and you could spend a whole retreat really covering this topic of the anima. So what we hope for is that will inspire you with some appetizers, so to speak, of the anima, and that we'll have some resources and references at the end we'll go over, and that you'll want to continue this exploration on your own after we gather tonight. So the other thing I want to mention is the anima is an interesting psychic energy. She can be your friend or your foe, your companion or your enemy, as you'll see. In the book, she's called she has an elusive quality, and she becomes a formidable challenge for a man's development. And to me, it's why Carl Jung mentioned it as the masterpiece of men's work. In the book, it says she doesn't have your best interest at heart, but she is the creative energy that lives in each of us. And we each have to find a way to relate to her. The other half of the book we won't be getting to tonight is the woman's side. And inside the woman, Carl said there was this other psychic energy that had the masculine qualities in the woman, and it's called the animus. So we won't be covering that tonight, but we do hope in the future watering hole we will be able to cover it. So, and that would be a way for us to help understand the women in our lives better by understanding that how the animus affects them through their development. So the last thing I'll say on these few thoughts as we start is there's a quote that I always like that says men's work has to start with a man, but has to end with a woman. And we hear a lot about shadow work, which is the apprentice piece that Carl said for men's work, but we hear little of the anima. So tonight we hope to at least open the door on this anima development that's in a man. So what format are we going to follow tonight? Seeing that the concept is hard to grasp and hard to define, we thought we'd experience her 5 different ways tonight. And 5 as a number marks completion, so I thought it would be a nice number to work with. So we'll start with ritual and song tonight, and then we'll move to teaching, image, and counsel. So we'll have 5 different ways for you to get to know her. By the end of the gathering, you should have what Jim Finley calls as a good felt texture of how she shows up in your life, and hopefully provide that spark to want to know her better. So for each of the 4 stages, we'll open with a few words about that stage, followed by a display of images that you can gaze into. When the images close, you'll be in your breakout room. The breakout rooms will be small. There'll just be 3 men in each room, and there'll be 2 prompts for you to explore together. At our closing tonight, when we're done, we'll be weaving the night sharing together like we normally do. We'll offer some next steps, and we'll have a small closing to close the evening. Since we are packing a lot into tonight, we may go over the 90 minutes by 15 or 20 minutes, and we hope that's acceptable. If not, we will be recording most of this. The ritual won't be recorded, and obviously the breakouts won't be recorded, but the closing will. So any quick thoughts does anybody have? Because mostly it's going to be led by the guides, but if there was anybody who's participating tonight, and if you have anything, now would be maybe a time to ask a question. So let me just pause the recording because this part we don't want to record.
So my name's Jay Pyatt. I'm the convener for the Dark Ambush Passion Circle. And Tony and I, like he said, came together and did some work in this area. And as we look at Eve, this is our first experience of life, typically through our mother. All of our needs are met in her intuitive embrace. She is sufficient in providing our nourishment. She is gentle, caring, present, and helpful. In the earliest part of our lives, Mother is the grounding center, order in our world. We need nothing, hopefully. However, mothers are human. We may become deeply wounded by our mother at some time in this stage. She might have been too close, too absent, too permissive, too strict, too something, and left you in need of healthy nurturing. This wound leaves some men looking for the mother he never had. He will carry unreasonable expectations of a woman meeting these needs while never seeing her as more than a maid or a housewife. The type of behaviors a man can get stuck in are about nurturing. The man who wants the woman at his beck and call, the man who marries or dates the older woman, and the man who abdicates his decisions to his wife are all examples of someone seeking a nurturing mother in his life. Pornography can be very nurturing, especially with masturbation. It is a way to have the mother image and to soothe our emotional distress. Overeating can be a problem as well, another way of soothing ourselves when distressed. If this stage of the anima is developed, we will be clear in what we need, and if necessary, be able to request its fulfillment from someone. We will no longer see nurturing as a feminine quality, but something we can embrace as healthy for ourselves and others. We move from simply protecting and providing to care and sacrifice for those we love. We now have the Eve persona integrated into our psyche and can call on the inner mother she represents. And we will now have some images for you to silently reflect on each image to deepen your connection. And then you will be in breakout rooms where you should see some prompts to chat with the other men about. So take another slow, deep breath in. We recognize that you're drinking from the fire hose tonight. This is if you get just a sip of what we're talking about, this is a starting point. So we will move on to Helen. Helen of Troy, she is seen historically as the most beautiful woman in the world. Her abduction by Paris of Troy was the most immediate cause of the Trojan War. For this reason, she is referred to as the face that launched 1,000 ships. At some point, most young boys find out not all women are moms or sisters. They're alluring, challenging, frightening, and wonderful. This creates a new type of disorder in our world as we try to understand and pursue this new feminine image. This attraction may draw us to the allure in the opposite or same-sex partners. Helen gives us permission to have our desires and to be desired. She gives us permission to be beautiful and to be desired for our beauty. However, Helen knows that her appeal is much broader than her beauty. Her appeal is much broader than her physical presence. But it is also how she validates us as men, how she validates our lives. This validation can lead to much stronger and deeper attraction than beauty alone. Pornography attempts to create this same powerful connection by taking shortcuts to our fantasies without requiring our investment in the relationship. This may be okay occasionally, but our culture says no desire should go unmet. A good salesman sells us on something we didn't even know we needed. And porn does the same thing by offering anything and everything without restriction or healthy personal interaction. This sets us up to think our partners in real life want to be a part of our fantasies. And if they don't, there's something wrong with them. Our desires have become demands. Women should always be young, willing, and available to meet our every wish. This puts the power for our fulfillment in something external to us. To escape this, we must integrate Helen and her feminine energy deeply into our psyche. This will help us to temper those desires. Understanding the relationship between our masculine and Helen is valuable and deep because of the validation and presence of the other. This deep acceptance of ourselves, that validation, allows us to move on from self-judgment and constant competition, knowing we are loved in our beauty and our brokenness, knowing we're desired not only sexually, but as a valued companion. When we are mature in this stage, we will be able to hold what we desire from others loosely, staying calm even if they never come to fulfillment. So again, we will be showing you some images for this stage and have some prompts in the chat for you for the breakout room.
We open the breakout room, there may be one or two of you that will join a different room because we intentionally want to keep the room smaller so that you can discuss.
And you might have to repost that.
Yeah. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to stage them there. I didn't know I actually clicked on it. I'll do it again when they come back.
Yeah. All right, men, welcome back. Take another 4 count in.
Yeah.
Slow exhale. I will pass it on to Chris, who is going to cover Mary.
Good evening, man. So for this portion, we're going to focus on the anima, which is the feminine aspect within a man's psyche and its connection to the image of Mary. According to John Sanford, the Virgin Mary personifies the possibility of relationship with God. The image of Mary represents the gentle and generative support she offers to Jesus as he fulfills his mission. She realizes Jesus has a divine purpose and does not try to control him, but instead acts as a compassionate friend and support, opening herself to love him more deeply. The core question here is, how am I feeling? And a related sub-question is, how am I feeling in relation to my image of God, myself, and others? So I'll ask you today, how are you feeling? Are you happy, sad, angry, frustrated, confused, excited, connected, loved, joyful, or something else? The anima at this stage wants to know your true feelings without judgment and cares deeply about your emotional state and how it impacts your connection with the sacred. Continual growth and development are needed for a man to become whole. Continuing to understand and integrate his feminine side, his anima, is essential for him to conquer the next phases of development. The prime opportunity for this next stage of development and ongoing teaching of the anima is during the middle years, or the middle passages, or as some people call it, the midlife crisis. During this time, a man's career may become challenging, boring, and lacking meaning. His marriage and/or relationships may become dull and reach a turning point or end. And his personal compulsive habits may begin to implode in his outer world. He is invited to get in touch with his feelings, to uncover the hidden and frustrated emotions he has buried inside his body and psyche. As his life implodes, he is invited to awaken to the feelings he has not been able to address. And with reflection, he begins to notice that his moods have dominated his life and alienated him from others for a large portion of his life. Robert A. Johnson notes in his book, that when a man is overtaken by his moods, which is possessed by his anima, the way out is to answer the question, how am I feeling? There's at least one possible stuck point for a man during this phase, and that is become like a couch potato who takes care of few responsibilities and expects others to serve him. He may eventually lose everything and then wonder what happened, because in his view, he has fulfilled his provider role but lacked initiative to nurture relationships. And then he may remarry, repeating the same pattern and blaming others for his inability to add substance to his life and to relationships. The cycle can continue, leading to increased distance and broken relationships within his community. Another possible stuck point is the man who only focuses on his providing responsibilities and does not understand why others in his life are pulling away from him, becoming more and more isolated. He may spend an increasing amount of time in compulsive behaviors, as he does not know what else to do, or may not even be aware of what's happening. The healthy Mary image represents the man who has a spiritual awakening on the inside. When his inner world comes alive and he drinks the holy water of vulnerability, authenticity, and honesty for the first time without drowning. He finds a supportive group where he begins to share his feelings and verbalizes things he has known but has never had the courage to admit, even to himself. To his amazement, he survives this vulnerable experience without being ridiculed, hurt, judged, or shamed. He starts listening to others who have more experience in this new emotional way of communicating and starts to put the tools in place with ease, diligence, consistency, and perseverance. As James Finley encourages, he finds his teacher, his practice, and his community. And during this time, he starts valuing people, places, and experiences that truly matter. Doug Goodfeather, in his book, Thinking Indigenously, describes 3 roles of a healthy man: provider, nurturer, and protector. The man may be familiar with the provider and protector roles, but during this period of his life, he is called to develop the nurturer, which the image of Mary beckons him into a deeper relationship with. The man begins to find his feelings and talk about himself in a deeper way with others. His inner world begins to demand more attention, understanding, and dialogue. The man begins to care for himself, which leads to him caring for others, inviting him into the practice he has so needed, the patience he has so needed with others his whole life. Michelle Chalfant, in her work entitled The Adult Chair, offers two questions that help a man shift into this healthy, merry, nurturing role. Number one is, how am I feeling? And number two is, what do I need? These two questions, how am I feeling and what do I need, are crucial for the healthy Mary to begin nurturing the desire of a man's inner world in his soul. Brene Brown's work offers the man solace during this stage of development as well. Brene Brown encourages the path of vulnerability and becoming courageous to talk about the things most hidden within the man, which are his feelings. Doing this inner work is also encouraged by spiritual teachers such as Richard Rohr and is the work of Illuman. If the man embraces his inner journey, he will find a multitude of helpful resources, with his most valuable resource being connecting with the God image inside himself. The healthy Mary begins to help the man not only ask the question, how am I feeling, but also to cultivate creative solutions to his feelings and answer the questions, what do I need? This develops the nurturing role that he needs to befriend his own self. And so now, men, we will see the images of this Mary, and then we'll break out into our breakout rooms again, and the prompt should be in your chat. Well, welcome back, men. I invite you to take another deep breath and just settle in. Yeah. Tony's going to lead us now in the last stage of the anima, which is Sophia, the union stage.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Yeah, and as Jay said, this is all new, and we realize that, and so it's going to take a while for it to settle in. So Jay opened with the first two stages were really where the anima is kind of outside of the man through the mother image and through the sexual desirous image. And then the third image, the third stage starts bringing it inward. And this fourth stage is now continuing on this inner journey. We call it the wisdom, the union, and the mystical stage, to wholeness and holiness. So at stage 4, making the unconscious conscious through the help of the anima is now complete or near complete. The man has found his way through the first 3 transitions of order, disorder, and reorder of anima development, and this last stage that the mystics help guide us to is available to us. If we are willing to devote ourselves to our calling, we too can find our way home. We have come to terms with our sexual longings, desires, and fantasies, and see them as pointers to what we are lacking in our conscious development. We understand our projections and now withdraw them. When they do reappear, we learn to see them clearly for what they are. The anima has led us to awaken to our inner development, and she is pleased in knowing that we are becoming whole. She brings fire into our lives and adds color to our personality. How can one live without her? In the Invisible Partners, it says the effect of the anima is always to stir up a man's consciousness to greater life. Father Richard calls them ever greater circles of awareness and inclusion. While this pattern appears to be true across many men, each man must find his own unique way through the various stages the anima is offering him. We have a few images followed by a few prompts as we've done with the other stages. I'll put the images on the screen now, and the two prompts will be in your chat. So you can look at these images here for a few seconds. Well, welcome back.
Attention.
Yes, welcome back, everybody. Looks like we're almost all together. Welcome back, men, and thank you for taking the journey with us tonight. And we know that all this is all new, and as Jay said, we know it's kind of like the firing hose, but we hope we sparked a little bit of this anima psychic energy, what it feels like. So we always like to close our gatherings, kind of weaving together what did you hear a man say, or what struck you tonight as we began the gathering and we went through the ritual, the song, and the images, and the council sharing that you had together along with the teachings. What are some what struck you tonight, and what did you hear a man say? We'll do that for a few minutes, and then we have a little bit of a closing. So I'll just let the silence be the talking stick.
Take us off, Pen.
It heard a man say, it always takes us back to nature.
We hear you, Bill. Amen. Thank you.
Say he caught his son at the moment of his birth.
We hear you, Tom.
Hear you, Tom. What struck me was the interest that you men have for this offering, this masterpiece of men's work. It's so nice to see.
What struck me was that three men in our breakout room could share their feelings, thoughts, and who they are with three strangers and walk away content.
Hey, we hear you, Henry.
Yes.
Amen.
What struck me was the balls it took for these three guys to put this together. And also the balls it took for all of you guys to show up and be with us.
Hear, hear.
Bill.
A deep bow to all of you.
Hear you, Bill.
What struck me was I'm alone together.
Hear you, Joseph.
We
We
hear
hear you,
you, Bill.
Joseph. Amen. Thank you.
I noticed that I spent about a minute and a half of that precious time trying to figure out which Beatles song was with which of the four things again. Then I spent 30 seconds beating myself for it.
Mhm.
And then I said, wow, what a lack of imagination. And the people in the breakout room brought me back to it. And it was beautiful to see the way I curbed my own imagination. It tossed me right back into a retreat not so long ago. And I'm looking at Eric right now on the lover. There's another way that lover retreat is not going away right away, brother. Okay. Here.
We
Brian.
hear you, Brian.
Hear you,
Thank you.
Brian.
Amen.
Yeah, I felt less alone after sharing thoughts with my small group and feeling and getting feedback on how some of the things I shared resonated with the other folks in the group. And I'm coming away with an increased sense of clarity about where I need to go from here. And maybe a little more willing to take a risk on asking for help in doing that, not trying to do it all myself.
I hear you,
We
Robert.
hear you, Robert, and thank
I
you.
hear you, Robert.
Amen.
I have no idea where I'm going, but I wound up with the question, or not the question, or perhaps an insight that I may have to let go of who I am to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Hear you, Dave.
We hear you, David. Amen. Thank you.
David.
No, thank you, man, for being here. It is creating a safe environment, allow me to get humbled and feel grateful. And thank you for your time, and thank you guys for putting this on.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
We hear
We
you.
hear you, John. Thank you.
Hey,
Amen.
John.
What I heard a men say in my small group was not so much with words, but with the presence with which they held me in that conversation. And it made me feel safe, and it gave me renewed energy to do the work that I need to do. And so I'm very grateful.
Mm-hmm.
We hear you, Tom.
Hear you.
Thank
Hear
you.
you,
Tom.
Thank
Hear
you,
you,
Tom.
Tom.
What struck me is this work is so much needed, and it's so wonderful to see men show up for this.
Yeah. We hear you,
We hear you,
Stephen.
Stephen. Thank you. Amen.
I heard a man say that I was enveloped by God in fog, a heavy fog, and that's what I feel with you men tonight. I feel enveloped, and I'm grateful.
Amen. We hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adrian.
So we have some, so thank you, men. And it does feel like the anima is present among us, through our combined spirits here tonight. She's with us. So we have a couple of follow-on resources. We thought if you were interested, we wanted to provide maybe some next steps, so to speak. And we did put together a page here. And actually, we're using the Midlifetime website because that's where this anima actually all started. We thought maybe we were going to include it, but and maybe we will going forward. But that's where the page is. So it's midlifetime.net/anima, and this is what you'll see. And the watering hole content, the prompts, the Beatles song medley, and the anima images are here. Peter Zellner did a really good job. If you don't have the book and you just want to see Peter's reflections, his highlights on what it meant to him when he read it, they're really good. He hit on a lot of the same points that I took, and he had some new ones that I didn't see, so it was pretty interesting. It's a quick read. You could read it in a few minutes. Jay, did you want to maybe say something more about the Passion Circle?
Yeah, so the Dark Ambush Passion Circle is really for men that are wrestling with the anima, whether it's pornography or sex issues. We are meeting this Saturday. There's a link in the chat, 11 a.m. Eastern time.
And we have a YouTube collection. I'll keep adding to it. There's a bunch of Marie von Franz. She was a big, I guess Bill knows, a disciple of Jung. Actually, he died to the day 6 months before I was born, June 6, 61. He's been a neat guy. If I could ever go back and meet somebody after my dad, he might be a cool guy to meet. But there's a bunch of videos where she talks about it. And the animus is something we are looking to do. And John Sanford's work, his wiki page is here. He grew up in Morristown, New Jersey, which I didn't know. And the Invisible Partners, the link is here to the book. And I know, Chris, you had some others here, right? Brene Brown's work you wanted to mention.
Yeah, we have Brene Brown's work on vulnerability. She has two good books, The Gift of Imperfection and The Atlas of the Heart is all about emotions. And then there's a movie here by The Dangerous Mind, which is about Carl Jung. And then Michelle Chalfont's work, she has a book called The Adult Chair, and she also has a podcast and at theadultchair.com that might be helpful for you.
Yeah. And this last link, I put it in today while I was at work, was actually the one that started it all. So back in December, when I was kicking around the idea of including the anima, that's the site that I found some information on. And I didn't even know that Invisible Partner book existed at the time. And until Bill Brennan mentioned it to us. I knew John Sanford's quote because in my MROP, they suggested to read Meeting the Shadow. And when I opened that book and I read that so many years ago, I always kept that quote about the anima being the masterpiece. And I always had that in the back of my mind. So I was so happy that this all came together. We do have a little closing we wanted to do, and we need 20 voices to help bring it together here as we close. It's a Hafiz poem, and it feels to me like the anima was present and alive in him when he penned these words. So we thought it was an appropriate way to wrap things up. So it's kind of nice when we can hear different voices and stream them together. So I'll highlight the line and whoever wants to start.
Sometimes forget.
Yeah, that I was created for joy.
My mind is too busy.
So busy.
My heart is too heavy.
For me to remember,
that I
have been called to dance.
All to dance.
The sacred dance of life.
I was created to smile.
To love.
To love.
Be lifted up.
And lift up others.
O sacred one.
Untangle my feet.
All that ensnares.
Bring my soul.
My soul.
That we might dance.
And that our dancing
Might be contagious.
Might be contagious.
Yeah. Yes, and that feels the anima alive when she's related to Quat, right? She makes us want to dance and want others to dance with us. So we each are going to take one of these quotes. Jay will start, Chris will go, and then I'll go.
The paradox of individuation or wholeness is that we best serve intimate relationships by becoming sufficiently developed in ourselves that we do not need to feed off others.
Has only two alternatives for relationship to his inner woman. Either he rejects her and she turns against him in the form of bad moods and undermining seductions, or he accepts her and finds within a companion who walks through life with him, giving him warmth and strength.
In the last analysis, the eros is a great mystery, one to be lived and experienced. We can talk of sexuality. We can understand projections. We can speak of the transference. But when we add it all up, it comes to zero. For it ends at the great mystery of love, the closing words from the Invisible Partners. Thanks for your help in bringing this important work forward. It wouldn't have been possible without you. If you do want to connect with us and give us any ideas or thoughts and what your thoughts about the animus are, if we should be doing that, you can send it to connect@illuman.org. There'll be a recording that will be available in the coming days. We'll send it out to the email addresses that signed up. And as always, we wish you sweet dreams in your night's journey tonight. I
Thank
always
you.
like to remind
Anthony,
everybody.
thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you want the anima to visit you tonight, then just right before you close your eyes while you're laying on your pillow, ask her to come to you in a dream. And then if you have intentions, that's when the dreams happen. So it was great being together tonight. I'm sure we went over a little bit. Hopefully that was okay.
Thank you,
Blessings.
man.
Thank
Thanks, man.
Thank
All right.
Peace, brother.
Thank you, brothers.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we need to add that to the book study list and do a 6-month book study on it.
Yes.
Boy, you whetted a bunch of appetites in my little room.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, thanks. It was good to see
For
everybody.
being here, Richard.
Yeah, what I love
Yeah.
about John Sanford is he makes it real practical.
Yeah.
And because a lot of people get lost in Jung, and Madison Avenue does not get lost in Jung. They use Jung to manipulate us every single day.
Yeah.
Billboards, radio, TV, internet.
Yeah.
And if we really get this, we're going to be subversive in a positive way
Yeah.
against the cultural BS.
Yeah.
Here.
Hear you, Bill. All right. Well, sweet dreams tonight, brothers. It was great. I feel like it's out there now.
It was great.
Thanks so much, guys.
Oh, great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thanks,
Joe.
Gerald. See you. Peace. Enjoy your night.
Thanks, Tony and Jay.
Yeah.
Bill.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris and Jay and Bill. Yeah.